too.
And so, good afternoon. It's good to see everybody here. I even see, looking at maybe two mayors that are here, unless I'm missing one, but I appreciate both of them being here as part of our meeting today. Just check your cell phones if you don't mind. Make sure that they're placed on stun or something. And we'll go ahead and get started. This is the March 25th, 2025 Hardin County Fiscal Court regular voting meeting. Let's begin and call this meeting to order. We'll start out with a roll call.
Squire Pennington?
Here.
Squire Clem?
Here.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Squire
Starting
Muse?
different direction.
Yeah, sorry. Squire Saltzman?
Here.
Squire Thompson?
I'm present, thank you.
Squire Whitehead?
Here.
Squire Yates?
Here.
Judge Tall?
Here. Next, we'll have our invocation by Magistrate Aaron Pennington and Pledge of Allegiance, Magistrate Whitehead.
Please bow your heads with me. Father God, we just thank you for today. We just thank you for the opportunity to be able to gather and just do your work. And Jesus, we just pray that today everything we do would be pleasing to you. And ultimately, Father, we just pray for our citizens in our county. And in the information that we learned today, we just pray that it would be heard and understood. And Father, we just ask that open minds would be willing to listen and allow us to be able to best conduct business for our county. We ask all this in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Again, thanks again for joining today. It's great to see all of you. We'll recognize some of our younger folks here and maybe some of the older ones that lead them in just a few minutes. Just going to go ahead and review the agenda real quick. We will approve the minutes from the last meeting. We'll have some informational items after that. Then we'll have some presentations by a couple of our departments and office of our detention center. And then we will have our citizens' concerns or comments time, if anybody has anything to note. And then we have a pretty big consent agenda that we can go through and discuss what's in that. And then our typical comments at the end. Okay? So that's the agenda today. And I'll just go ahead and move on from here. We need to approve the Hardin County Fiscal Court March 11th, 2025 minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, just a roll call, please.
All right, Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
Yes, motion passes. All right, next we'll move on to informational items, and I did want to go ahead and discuss the fact that we have a bunch of people from Scouting America Troop, Lincoln Trail District, and Andrea Siri is the leader. Could you raise your hand? I guess you're here. All right, thank you, leader, and thank all of you Scouts that are here participating. I believe that you're looking at trying to earn the citizenship in the Community Merit Badge. Is that correct? All right. Well, good. I'm glad you're here. No, it's not correct. So we have other reasons. Do you want to go ahead and just tell us why you're here? Communications. Communications?
Communications Merit Badge. You have to write down the topics about a point of view during one of these events.
Okay. Well, very good. Good luck with that. And I'm sure you'll have some material to write. So any other reasons why? Does that cover it then? Okay. I just want to thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. It's an encouragement to see our young people involved in our local government. So thank you for being here. Any other comments by any of the other?
No, just other than our county clerk just got a little worried that you was here to take his job.
He seems worried. All right. Well, thank you very much. All right. We'll move on then to the next item. We have ESCI, Emergency Services Study Presentation, and I believe Jeff Stone is going to present for us today.
6 minutes, you're on time. That's what you said.
I had given 15, but it's up to you.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Judge. Yes, my name is Jeff Stone. I'm here with ESCI. We're Emergency Services Consulting International. We are the consulting arm of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. We were brought on back at the end of last summer by the county to evaluate the emergency services here in Hardin County, specifically the fire departments and the EMS system that's provided for the citizens. Just a quick overview of what ESCI does. We have two divisions. We have what we call project services side, which is what we do: strategic plans, master plans, these agency evaluations, systems evaluations. And then we also have a human capital side, which they do promotional testing, recruitment. They also do executive searches for departments for fire, EMS, and law enforcement around the country. Our business next year will actually be 50 years old. It started in the Northwest in around 1976, so we'll actually be turning 50 next year. Our evaluation, what we went over, we kind of took it in a phased approach. We looked at the governance and resources that is provided by the Hardin County right now, and the 12, now 11, two of those departments have actually joined since we were here at the end of last year. But the volunteer fire departments that provide fire services around the county and how it's governed throughout the county amongst the individuals and through the county elected branch here. Then we also took a look at the infrastructure analysis, meaning the fire stations and the equipment that is provided to provide those services to the citizens of Hardin County. And then we dove a little bit deeper in looking at what we call data analytics, service delivery, how well do these entities respond, how long does it take, are there any anomalies that we can find, and what does that service delivery look like, and we quantify that to be able to show how things are, and then we take that and we'll use national standards and best practices around the country as our benchmarks to look at. And then we finally took that and then we moved forward in looking at the future of what's going on in Hardin County, what you have going on right now, and what are the predictions and things that are come over the next 10 to 15 years. And out of all those evaluations, we provided some recommendations for the county and for the fire departments. We'll meet with all the fire chiefs tomorrow night to go over this much more in depth. We just met with the elected officials right before this meeting and kind of gave them a 2-hour in-depth view of what the process is. So we just want to provide this to the public tonight. Some of the first things we saw was the governance and resources right now. I'm not sure that everybody can see that, but all the little dots that you see there, that's Hardin County. The kind of darker dots for everybody in the back of the room, those are all the fire stations around there. And then if you see in the middle, if your eyesight's well enough, the little blue dots, those are the EMS stations that are provided by the Hardin County EMS service. When we looked at it right now, the infrastructure right now, there's 12, and again, this changed when we found out today. There's 11 volunteer fire departments around the county that provide fire service to all the citizens, with the exception of Elizabethtown and Radcliffe, where they have their own career fire departments that they provide to those citizens in that. Hardin County EMS does provide ambulance service to everybody in the county, including Elizabethtown and Radcliffe citizens. One of the evaluations we looked at all the fire stations amongst all the individual departments. One of the things we found, most of these stations are not ready for a 24-hour service, meaning that they have no living quarters, they have no ability for anybody to stay overnight to sleep. Some of them had some minor kitchen facilities to where if, anybody was there for an extended period of time where they could cook their own meals at the station or whatnot. That's what you see in traditional fire service or fire stations. And then we also looked at all the apparatus throughout the county. As you can see, the two delineations of the fire and then the EMS service there. We have a scale that takes into several different accounts when we look at every piece of apparatus, and we break them down for excellent, good, is it meeting a potential consider for replacement, and then does it need immediate replacement? One of the strong things we found with the fire department, a lot of the equipment has been bought by the individual departments as a second-hand piece of equipment, but yet it's still older, and it's still a lot of those have concerns as far as reliability, functionality, serviceability, and just length and longevity of it, not to mention the miles and the age of them. You'll see, on the other hand, fortunately, EMS in this past year has been able to turn their fleet around and rotate older units out and then bring in newer units. So that's happened over the past year and a half. So that's why you see they have 8 units versus the 80 some odd pieces of equipment that the fire departments have. So it's why you see most of their equipment right now is in excellent condition. The service delivery, this is actually where the calls, so when you as the citizens or anybody in this county picks up and calls 911, these are what we call the data analytics. How long does it take somebody to get there? What are these calls? How are they broken down? As you can see, we break them down. There's a national reporting code section, all the little numbers, if you can see that, fire, hazardous materials, EMS, MVCs, those all have a national number that everybody, all departments across the country use the same numbering system, so we can delineate actually what type of call somebody runs or what type of call each agency runs. That's a breakdown of how many calls per year. We took a 5-year data set from 2019 to 2023, and the different types of calls on the bar graph there. We took that a little bit further and we broke it down into each individual department or district within the county. For those sitting in the audience, you can probably see where you're at and over the years how many types of calls are run in each district within each year. As most people would understand, the more people, the more populated areas, there tends to be more calls. That's just kind of the way things work anywhere, but those that you can see that are closer to the populace are running more calls per year versus those that are on the far, say, western side or even the northern part of the county where it's not quite as densely populated. And this is just a visual. Again, if you can see the darker little hexagons there, those are just more call concentrations in areas around the county. That represents a one square mile area. And again, you can see that those are typically concentrated around or just on the outside of and this is the fire department responses. These are just outside of Elizabethtown and Radcliffe. Again, those were not part of the evaluation, as we only looked at the Hardin County unincorporated volunteer departments. National standards operate 2 different standards, one for career departments and one for volunteer departments. What we call the volunteer departments, for those that are familiar with it, it's a National Fire Protection Agency, NFPA Standard 1720. We break these down into response times and areas for that, and those zones based upon population density is broken down in urban, suburban, and rural areas. As you can see there, there's our urban area time responses, the suburban time response, and then the rural time response. Those are broken down into a 9, 10, and 14-minute response for the first unit to arrive on scene. EMS, we divided those out because it is a separate agency. This is over their 5-year stint of the data collection from 2019 up to 2023. You can see they run approximately about 18,000 calls a year. That is through their 8 squads or ambulances that they run for the entire county. And again, that does cover Elizabethtown and the city of Radcliffe. One of the concerns that we do and we take out there is we take historical data and we make a projection. So over the next 25 years, so from 2023, so the next 25 years up to 2050, you'll see that number almost doubles of what the potential call response for just the EMS service is going to be, so almost 33,000. There are variations there if you have a large influx of a population that comes in due to growth of development or anything like that. That number could actually be adjusted up from there. So, and again, we do the same thing for EMS where their call response are. Because they do cover Elizabethtown and Radcliffe and the surrounding areas right there because they're most populated, you see that most of the darkened hexagons are right there and even up towards Viney Grove in that area just next to the base. One of the things we look at is commitment factor, and this is always a concern where how long does it take units while they're on a call and should they last any longer, and we use it as a measuring tool or maybe a litmus test if you should. Do you need another unit to be put in service? Do you need to bring on more resources to handle those calls? We found that 6 out of the ambulances right now are at what we call a line in the sand threshold. We call it 30% commitment factor. Most of those are at 26, 27, 28%. So they're in need of either additional resources to handle the call volume or some type of adjustment in the system to look at the service delivery. Again, we broke down the EMS calls by the different zones. If you see your area up there, you can see what this is the average travel time it takes for an EMS unit. We took all their call data and brought that in. This is about how long it takes you to get, for them to get a med unit there. I'll say this, if they are available. So if they are not on another call, this is what that time reflects. Every time you have them on another call or tied up or somewhere else, or they have multiple calls going on, these times will increase.
Just a quick comment about those numbers. You said those are averages, right?
Yeah, yes, that's an average for that. So for Central Hardin, 14 minutes and 35 seconds.
So by definition of an average means that half of the run times are less and half of them are more or higher. Okay, just making sure that that's true, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The future challenges we saw with when we did our site visit here, we were here for a week. We went around and talked to all the independent fire departments and their chiefs and some of their personnel. We spoke with the EMS directors. We actually spoke with Judge Tall and several other people throughout the community. And some of the concerns that popped up that we see right now through not only what they said and then what we found in the data, and these are not in any specific order, but obviously the demand for services is going to increase. We see that. You saw that with the EMS levels. The concern that came from every department when we talked to individual fire departments was the inability for the volunteers of every department to answer calls during the day. And we found that the anomaly, most of the calls are occurring during the day for the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So that's when the influx or the larger, I want to say it was 76% of the calls are happening during that time. But they're at work, so they're unable to leave work and go handle those calls. So that was a really concern from them as well as just the county as a whole. How do we handle this? Then it falls into, okay, we need more services we need more resources to handle the service delivery that is going on where we're at and the projected service delivery that's going to be down the road over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The facility maintenance, one of the first other slides back there, 37 vehicles in the fire department are in immediate need according to the assessment of replacement. That's a lot. Fire equipment is expensive, which requires a significant amount of funding. Along with that, the facility maintenance of keeping those up, not to mention bringing in new equipment and learning how to handle that as new equipment comes in, because everything's electronic and technical these days. It's not the old points in a carburetor on anything anymore. So there's a lot of need to understand how that works. And again, planning for these pieces of apparatus to be replaced. Right now, the national average to replace a fire truck, a fire engine, is about $1 million, and the manufacturers are about 2 years behind. just to kind of give you an idea. So even if the money is there, you're still 2 years out before you can get one to come in and replace what you have. If you need a ladder truck, it's about 4 years out, and they're about $2.5 million. Again, updating equipment, not only does the fleet need to be updated, but the equipment that goes on those trucks are need to be updated. And then, as we say, the fire departments nowadays are not just fire departments, they're what we call an all hazard. We do everything. We do run EMS calls, hazmat, technical rescue, anything and everything. And so that training needs to always increase to better provide that service to the citizens and those that we're responding to. One of the big things that we see coming in that is driving some of that development, and we know that's going to drive more of that increase, is obviously going to be the Blue Oval SK plant that is here. As it becomes more and more fully up running, and I think if my figures are right, they're only about halfway with part of the plant up. There's still a whole other section that's supposed to be, and I think there's more down the road. As that comes online, that's going to bring other industry along with it to help support it. That's going to bring more people, more jobs. It's also going to bring more traffic, and hence why the second thing there you see is I-65 is going to become a serious concern because of all the materials, not only hazardous materials, but just the amount of resources that are going to come to these industrial and commercial sites is going to be traveling up and down those roads and here into the center of the county. So out of all this, our recommendations came up. We had some immediate, what we call our immediate or short-term goals. Over the next 2 years, one of the things we looked at, we really suggest that the 12 entities, the county, the EMS service, 911, all the emergency services come together and devise a singular strategic plan of how to handle this growth that's coming. Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what that's going to be, but the plan needs to be, and it's going to take everybody to do that. Part of that is developing a common mission, vision, and value statement for the EMS services and what needs to be delivered and what the citizens of Hardin County, what they feel they need, what the citizens want, and then what the emergency services can do to supply and meet that demand. With that, the next step is evaluate the funding measures of how these things need to be done. Service delivery costs money. It's not what anybody likes to hear, but it's a factor, and depending on that level of service that is wanted to be obtained by the citizen and the communities, that needs to be determined, and then you need to find out where that funding is going to come from. And the next one down there, this is EMS specific. One of the things the national trend is moving for monitor performance measures. We're trying to move away from the EMS service from how quick can we get there to what is the outcome of a patient. I give this example. If somebody is having a severe chest pain or potentially going into cardiac arrest, it doesn't matter if I get there in 2 minutes or 10 minutes. If that person does not survive, the outcome is not a viable outcome. We would much rather look on the other side and what are the care that we can give, providing pre-hospital care, hospital care, and those things, and what is it we can do to better outcome of that patient living and being viable. So we change the measures and the type of service delivery to performance measures and outcome measures, really, so instead of just response times. And then, as you saw, as I said earlier, 6 of the units right now are on thresholds of needing additional resources. They're at the breaking threshold of that 27, 28%, and 30 is the mark. 6 of those. So develop a plan to balance that workload or provide some type of additional resources or more EMS units to the service. Some of the other short-term goals within that are not quite as immediate but need to work on having a common records management system. This is where all this data comes from. We haven't compiled data from the 12 different sources and put it all together. Using one system makes that data where you would not have to bring in somebody like us to sit and compile that over weeks and spend hours doing it. It could be done as a matter of just a few minutes. Somebody could run a report and see how you're measuring up to things. Right now, also, again, the second one, the computer-aided dispatch system using a common incident number. Right now, all 12 departments have different incident numbers. This would give a clearer picture of how many incidents are actually handled across the county versus having to cipher through 12 different departments. One of the things we looked at, the state of Kentucky has the option of what they call emergency services levies. There's one for the potential for the fire side, there's one for the EMS side. That varies from a penny up to 10 cents for either side. We looked at that and we provided some possibilities and what those revenues could bring in and help provide, present that funding to the service right now. As a side note, right now, I believe the county uses a subscription service. That's bringing in about $830,000 a year to service all 12 of those departments. The county provides an in-kind service through providing insurance to some of the stations, some of the apparatus and whatnot, and that's another $370,000. So it's about $1.2 million that's being provided to provide your service in this county right now. That's the funding source, or that's the funding amount, excuse me. One of the other short-term goals is to alleviate, as we said, there's a problem during the day. Most of the calls are happening during the day. Most of the volunteers are unavailable during the day. We've suggested potential daytime trucks, what we call QRVs, or these are quick response vehicles, putting paid part-time or paid personnel at designated locations throughout at designated stations throughout the county. They would be available during those hours of 8 to 8 to respond in the engine, smaller vehicles. A lot of the stations already have these smaller vehicles for those that if somebody just say if Mrs. Smith fell at her house, we don't need to take the $1 million fire truck to go pick her up. We can take one of the smaller vehicles to go over there and get it, so it's not wear and tear, and you prolong the lifelong of that $1 million truck. So that's what those are for. As I mentioned earlier, 37 of those vehicles, some type of adoption of a capital improvement plan, some type of funding source has to be put in place to start saving money to pay for these trucks. Again, $1 million a piece right now, and it's 2 years out. So as you start building a savings account, basically your fund balance is what it's called in the government, that helps provide for a capital improvement plan as you can, as that money builds up, then you can build and order and replace that fleet. Right now, all the individual departments have their own individual fleet maintenance and mechanics. One of the things we saw where their money could be saved and have a commonality is using a single fleet service maintenance program to where they can help maintain all the vehicles amongst all 12, and it'll probably end up saving all those individual departments money over the long run. And then also potentially with the growth coming, what's not here right now, or there's not a person in place having annual business inspections. A lot of times if you've been to other communities or whatnot, this may be what they call, like in the fire marshal's office, you may have an inspector. This could be done through your code office, your planning and zoning office. It could be anywhere. But this person could go in right now, the businesses you have, they're going in to make sure that that's safe for patrons to come in, as well as if there's an incident there that the firefighters and EMS going in there are safe and are not harmed. But also as new businesses come in, you're assured that they're meeting codes and standards, that it's safe for clientele to come to that business and work there. And then the over the next 5 to 9 years of midterm, we suggest, again, those 12 entities coming together having common operating guidelines so that everybody's working off the same. This is just like a playbook, so that everybody has their own playbook. When they all respond together, we know what to do. They all know what to do. If a levy rate is introduced, one of the things that we would suggest is in that 5 to 9 years is service delivery being met to the level that the community wants, and does that levy need to be adjusted if it's not? And then long-term, 10 to 15 years from now, because of the growth and everything going on, because there are 12 individual fire departments around the country, around the community, there would be potentially, because of growth and anything else like that, we would suggest those coming together and working with the county saying, do we need to maybe, I don't want to use the word consolidate, but come together and maybe start having more cooperative services coming to a single entity, or maybe instead of 12 entities, narrow it down to 4 or 5. But that discussion probably with what the services y'all have right now, we feel like in 10 to 15 years would probably be a good benchmark of when that discussion could start, and looking forward from there. One of the options we put in there, again, you saw the daytime person, slots during the day. This is approximately what it would cost for 2 people at one of the stations, so about $240,000 a year. And that would cover their firefighter, paramedics. So again, they could handle any type of call that comes in, and no matter what it would be. And they would have the option of, the engine there, or the QRVs, or whatever pieces of apparatus at that station. Again, this would be a collective decision of where the most calls are and what's best for the county to service everybody, of which station that could be at. We also, we talked about the levy and the subscription rate right now. Right now, it's a $40 subscription per parcel or household. If you broke it down into the various rates right now, from the tax assessors, we got a list of everybody's, all the parcels. Residential, you could see if they did a 3 cent levy, you would actually only pay 68 cents more a year versus the $40 that's being paid now. Farm properties could pay 6 cents, and they would still be paying less than the $40. Commercial, those are a little bit higher. That could be a different rate. We suggest on commercial not to put a burden on businesses, but I use this analogy for the elected officials earlier. If you're a 2,000 square foot house and you have, say, a McDonald's that's 2,000 square foot, we need 2 to 3 times as many resources to put out McDonald's as we do your residential house. So therefore, having them at the same rate is not totally fair for them. They're kind of getting off, a little bit cheaper than everybody else, but yet they're going to require more services when an incident occurs there. The option we came with, as I said before, right now, currently the funding is about $1.1 million amongst what the subscription fee and the in-kind services that the county is providing. We delineated doing a 3 cents for residential, the 5 cents on the farm, 6 cents commercial, and that would produce about $3.5 million. So a little, just over 3 times as much funding right now. And what that would allow is the county could divide that money how they wanted, but that gives enough funding to provide the services, increase the service delivery right now, and provide money to go towards a capital improvement funding. So it delivers both those. So that's the track moving down. So that was an option we put in there that we didn't feel like that it would end up hurting. There would be an increase for a larger majority of the population, other citizens in the county. So. That was better than 2 hours I talked to you a minute ago. Any questions?
You mentioned earlier about 85% of all across the country operate the same model as Hardin County. Is that correct?
Yes. So fire service right now, there's approximately 33,000 fire departments in the nation, about 1.2, 1.3 million firefighters. Of that, about 80% of those fire services are what we call combination or volunteer departments, majority volunteer. So the model of what Elizabethtown and Radcliffe, the fully career departments is a very small percentage across the nation. So we are still operating on a volunteer or fire service across the nation. Hence, if anybody knows anything or follows any of the news, the past 10 to 15 years, volunteerism, not just in the fire service, across our country is drastically declining. The fire service is the one that's seeing the biggest hit, just because of so many other things.
Yes, departments you've looked at, how do we stack up? Or counties, not departments.
I'm sorry?
Counties. All the counties that you've looked at, how's Hardin County stack up?
So believe it or not, I've been with ESCI for 2 years and have been all over the country. What we see right now, you're in a very similar predicament to many of the communities around the country right now. I will say this as a pat to the volunteer communities and communities like yourself. The communities seem to do so much better than the career departments. We go to career departments and I'll tell you, oh, they have so much money. I'm from Georgia, just outside of Athens, so Atlanta is about 60 miles from me. They've got about a $120 million a year budget. They have a lot more problems than what I can tell you y'all have. Yes, there's concerns and problems everywhere. But I think where y'all are at, y'all are probably right there in the middle and average with everybody else. Similar departments, similar size, similar things. Y'all are facing the issues and concerns that probably 60-70% of combination volunteer departments are facing.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to department office reports. We'll start out with our detention center budget by Josh Lindblom. Good afternoon.
Evening. So, for the meeting, I gave everybody a copy of the budget that I have prepared for the Hardin County Detention Center. It is my duty, it is there to propose a budget by April 1st. And I'd like to take another submission, and it show that I have submitted it to the whole fiscal court.
Anybody have any questions? All right, let it be known that we have received the detention center budget.
I would have a little sooner, but I was a little in the spot.
Okay, I know you were. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, next up is a report out by EMS, Mark Peterson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have the February activity report for the EMS department. Looking at our call volume, we were dispatched on 1,310 runs. Of those, 1,291 were 911 or 911 type runs, 19 transfers, and of the 911 runs, 119 of those we did not transport. Looking at our revenue, we collected $554,070, way down from February of last year, but we had some slow reimbursements coming in last year. That's why we had a big group of money come in last February. Made it look really, really good. We're still ahead. We'll see that here in a minute. And this is just a visual to kind of compare revenue to our volume. So fiscal year to date, 11,077 runs. Of those, almost 11,000 were 911, 200 transfers, and 1,000 or so non-transported runs. We'll look at our collection comparison. We're still ahead, about $274,000 ahead of where we were this time last year. Continue to look good coming into March as well. And this is another visual showing our volume versus revenue. So I also like to report that last week we conducted our annual inspection by the Kentucky Board of EMS, and we passed with 0 deficiencies. The admin portion has also been supported, and there was no issues with those as well. So we are good to operate for another year. So this time I'll take any questions.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
I know the new billing company has been reducing our arrears. How are we stacking up now as far as the bad debt?
Bad debt, I don't know those numbers right off the top of my head, but we're better, but not great. The problem with medical collection debt is folks just don't pay it. And you know, when they have to make the decision between keeping their lights on or paying an ambulance bill, they're keeping their lights on because they know the ambulance is still going to come, even if they don't pay the bill. So, but some of that stuff's looking a little better, but honestly, you know, once it gets to a point where it goes to collections, we're not seeing great returns on the collection side. Any other questions?
All right. Thank you very much for the report.
Thank you.
All right, next up, 911, Mike Leo.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm here to present the activity report for the 911 Center for the month of February. So 911 calls answered, 3,662. 9,284 CAD reports created. We answered 4,953 administrative calls. Dispatched 1,286 EMS runs, 424 fire runs, and handled 2,710 attempt to serve prisoner transports and traffic stop type calls. This shows the calls for service by agency. The EMS at 34.9%, Radcliffe 26.3%, Sheriff's Office at 19%. The remainder of the agencies we dispatch for, you see the percentages there. Fire runs by department for February. Elizabethtown at 34.4%, Super Radcliffe at 19.8%. You see the remainder of the agencies that we dispatch for and their percentages there. Calls transferred to secondary sites for February. Total calls transferred 554, 516 to E-Town Police, and 38 to the Kentucky State Police. That is all I have. Does anybody have any questions for me?
All right, hearing none, thank you.
I've got one thing to add. Just we've added a new feature to the comm center just recently, about the last 2 weeks. I haven't really brought any presentation material, but I want to let everybody know that the comm center now has the ability to answer text messages if you dial through your cell phone. Those calls are triaged in the same manner as a voice call. Only thing I do is encourage people, if you do need to use the text service, you know, it's preferred that you call and do it vocally. But if you're in a situation where, for those who are hard of hearing, for those who are maybe in a situation where, you know, your cover is compromised by you talking on the phone, that's in theory what that service is used for. So that service is online now, and if anybody needs to use it, it's there for you to use it.
You just text 911?
That is correct. We'll triage it just like every other call. It'll be questions and answers that we'll capture from you and send you resources based off what you're needing. So, yes.
Cool.
Be good to get that out in the media, and I'm sure you plan to do that. But
We are.
The local media, so they can talk about that. It's awesome. Good.
We're technically next gen now, in theory. Next gen compliant. Text messages and cell phone locations. So.
Hey, Mike,
Very good.
will it text to, you know, E-Town citizen who needs EPD? Will it automatically go to EPD, or does it still come through us and then we have to call?
We'll have to route it.
Okay. Will they be able to handle the text message as well, or do they need to call?
Yeah, we'll route it through our same. They're connected to us. We have equipment placed at those E-Town and State Police. Those messages and voice calls go there.
Yep.
So they'll be able to handle that too.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, there are some written reports available online from planning and from our county clerk. Moving on then to the next item is citizens' concerns or comments. Do you have anybody that would like to ask a question or any concerns, comments at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll move on.
Judge, I have a resolution I'd like to bring to the floor. Before I do so, I would like to get the advice of our county attorney on the proper way to bring it to the floor. So,
is your resolution in writing?
yes.
Okay. If you can distribute that then. So it would just be in the form of a motion to adopt your resolution, and then call for a second, and then the chair would call the question. I'll pass that.
What did you say the next step was?
So
Somebody needs to read it?
not necessarily, since it's in writing, you would not have to read it. You would just need to move for the adoption of that resolution.
I was going to read it in discussion.
You could do that as well. Then you'll need a second, then the chair would read the question, and then discussion.
Second.
So, Judge, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the resolution related to the Pearl Hollow landfill.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Judge. This is in reference to the Pearl Hollow landfill and some discussions we've had here lately. The resolution reads, whereas over 30 years ago, beginning in late 1993, Hardin County purchased approximately 742 acres of land located near Audubon Trace to meet the waste disposal and landfill needs of Hardin County and region for years into the future. Whereas the Hardin County-owned landfill property is known as the Pearl Hollow Landfill. Whereas in June of 2019, after a bid process, Hardin County entered into a 10-year lease for full operation of the Pearl Hollow Landfill to Santec Environmental of Kentucky, now known as Republic Service of Kentucky. Be it resolved that Hardin County does not desire to breach or renegotiate the terms of the current landfill lease with Republic Services of Kentucky. Be it further resolved that Hardin County does not desire to transfer, sell, or dedicate landfill real estate for any purpose other than for landfill operations consistent with the lease agreement. That's all I have.
Okay. Is there other discussion by anyone regarding this? No one else has any comment? Okay. Well,
Judge,
yes.
I would like to make a comment. I think that, we've discussed this several times in committee meetings. I'm glad to see this come through. It'll allow us to focus on some other things that, I do think our landfill is extremely important. I think it's extremely important to continue to operate as a landfill and the intended purpose. I guess in the future, if we deem that there's other necessities, hopefully we can find a way to make that work. But obviously, I fully support this.
Okay. Anybody else?
I appreciate the resolution being brought by Master Yates. I too think that we've discussed this matter for several weeks now, and I think it's pretty well felt by a majority of this court that it's time to move on with this. So I agree with the resolution, and I call the question.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make some comments before we end discussion, because this is the first time I've seen it, and it would have been nice to have looked at it before now, and have the ability to talk to it just a little bit more before we vote. Even though it sounds like you guys have already figured out that there's a majority of you that are going to vote for this resolution. So just a couple other things. It seems like, I don't know, my first impression is that this resolution is premature. We don't actually, especially the part of it that talks about selling the portion of the landfill that we've been talking about, which is about 380 acres of the non-permitted area of the landfill. So we don't have an offer on the table, and it sounds like it's just maybe a concern that there would be some further discussions about it in the future, or maybe other resources dedicated to it, even though we've pretty much finished all the research needed to make a decision. But really, I was expecting to have this resolution come up whenever there was an offer that was actually made to the county government. And that probably wouldn't happen until late summer, early fall. So that surprises me that we already have this resolution that's brought forth without my knowledge. So just saying that, I just want to cover just a couple of quick things, and then I guess we'll move on. But, this whole process of going through to try to figure out how to utilize 380 acres of the landfill that is currently not being used for anything. It's not in the permitted area. It previously was used for a mountain bike park and trails. It was shut down about 10 years ago for some good reasons. In order to get through those, we came up with some, I believe, some really good solutions to allow us to open that area back up again for a park in Hardin County. As you all know that are follow Hardin County government, we don't have money to put towards parks. We barely have enough money to put towards regular services. So to allow us to use an asset, basically unused land, was, I thought anyway, a really good idea. And to get us out of any kind of issue with insurance or with liability or anything about having, people out there at that 380 acres, it was determined that we could sell it, and that's, I think, where this is coming from. We could sell it to another entity, a quasi-government entity called Hardin County Soil Conservation District. So they were willing to do that. They've discussed it at their board meetings, and they are currently have an application that goes into the entity that I can never think of, but it's the Kentucky Heritage Land Conservation Fund. They have about, apparently they have about $500,000 that could go towards this project that would be utilized to come to Hardin County government in lieu of this land. It wouldn't necessarily be full payment for the price of the acreage. We don't know what that is, but they would be figuring that out as part of this process, and would be able to tell us by the end of the summer, assuming that they accept the application, that we would have a certain amount of what the actual worth of those 380 acres would be. It's very, if you haven't looked out there, it's very hilly land. It's perfect for kind of extreme, and maybe some of the trails wouldn't be extreme, but it would be very good for mountain biking and also for people to just go out and enjoy walking that land. So it'd be a very good park. It is next to a working landfill, which I understand there's been concerns about that. And I believe that we've been able to work through all of those. We had several stakeholders that we were working with. One, of course, is the Conservation District. We're very excited about being able to take over that land, and then working with Green Space. They would be very excited about having that as part of the park system. And then also the mountain bike association that would actually be developing the trails, maybe with some help from Green Space also. So it sounded like a very good project for us, and we have been working with one other stakeholder, Quail Forever organization, that is currently out there, and we're trying to work out something with them to make sure that we're able to make them happy. And we're still in the process of doing that. So this would be, a park. I was working also very closely with Senator Matt Dineen, and he was very excited about the possibilities there. And he was part of the person that was able to get some money into this organization in Frankfurt that would allow us to have some actual money. I mean, for me, I would have, if we could have agreed to it, Fiscal Court, we could have given the land to the Soil Conservation District. But in this case, we were actually going to receive money for that land. And that money could be used for anything, no restrictions. Of course, it could be used to develop some other parks, lots of options with that money. So it looked like a win-win-win situation. This particular 380 acres is separated from the permitted area that Republic is using right now. We would have to renegotiate a contract with them, which I I understand there are some concerns about that, and we were in the process of trying to make sure that we understood what they wanted and what we wanted, and make sure that they wouldn't raise prices and those types of things. And in the case, if it did turn out that way through the negotiation process, then of course, it would probably kill the project if they weren't willing to work with us on this. So that, none of that had been determined yet. It was still an action item to work through. So saying all of that, I just wanted to read one thing here that is kind of a goal for this park project, was to preserve and enjoy our beautiful land by placing unutilized county land in the hands of organizations that will maximize the benefits for Hardin County residents and the Commonwealth. Preserving and utilizing our land resourcefully will benefit our community, from creating green spaces and parks to supporting local organizations and initiatives that help enhance the quality of life, promote environmental sustainability, and provide more opportunities for community. So you can kind of just sum that up into a quality of life type of initiative. And by working through this resolution, I believe prematurely and I believe short-sightedly, is it will probably end this application that would be going from that is out there right now to be looked at. This entity in Frankfurt, they will probably see that there's not support for it, so why give that application to our Hardin County Conservation District if at the end of the day the county will not sell it to them. So, so I believe that's the purpose of this, is to end that process. And I just, I feel bad for the citizens of the county that we're not going to be able to utilize the land. It's just going to sit there like it is right now, not used, and for what purpose, I have no idea. So we will proceed then, unless somebody else wants to talk about it.
Question.
Question's been called?
No, there's no second. You
Pardon
have
me?
some others here that still want to talk.
Okay.
Go ahead, Larry.
Go ahead, Larry.
Well, I thought we were in the middle of still discussing this. This is surprising me, this resolution coming up today. Am I wrong? Did I miss something somewhere?
Yes.
I thought we were still trying to work out the details of this with the bird sanctuary place and everything. So, I mean, this pretty much nails it in the head. You know, there's no negotiation. So, yeah. I don't know. It's sound like y'all trying to come through the back door on this and trying to cram this down our throat all of a sudden, when I thought we were still in the negotiation stage.
I agree with the statement that the judge said at the beginning of his comments, that enough research has been, you said research needed to make a decision. We've had enough of it.
Yeah.
And the majority of this court has told you and relayed to you that we're not interested in selling this property. So that is why we brought this, or I brought that resolution today. Right. In order, a lot of our county employees have been working hard on this, and I realize they put a lot of time and effort into it, but we need to utilize those resources elsewhere, and any more time spent is basically a waste of money, because this court has already kind of gave you the direction we would like to go.
I think you had mentioned that, I mean, y'all have been working on this at this point. I think it's over 12 months now. We've had 3 meetings in the last 3 months. In all 3 meetings, we had discussions, and there was a lot of negativity and a lot of pushback. Even from the very first one, when we were kind of informed that we would have to make a decision in a few months. You know, you keep saying it's unused land currently. Yes, it is. But that landfill was bought with the intent of being a landfill. And you know, I've expressed this multiple times. I don't understand the mindset of, okay, well, it's sitting there unused now. Well, it was already unused once, and we've already changed the permit. We've already expanded the landfill once. It's going to happen again and again. And they keep saying, well, it may not happen in the next 100 years. I understand that. There's a lot of people that probably are not going to see 100 years. But a lot of these guys, their kids and my kids kids are going to see 100 years. And we don't know what that future holds. So instead of kicking the can down the road and saying, hey, let's try to figure this out in a few months when we're going to make a decision that we've already expressed that it's not a good idea, let's not continue to go through. I think it's important, let's go ahead and end it, and let's focus on things like the budget and other things that we need to focus on. You've also stated the quality of life. Well, if it was all about quality of life, why did we call back money from the YMCA? It's not just about quality of life. We're fiscal court. We have to focus and think about the finances of this county. And right now, I've expressed it many times personally, this is not financially smart. It is extremely undervalued by selling it for $1 million. And the explanation of that is potentially $1 million divided by all the acreage. It's roughly $1,300 to $1,500 an acre. You can't do that. You cannot replace this land. They're not going to make any more of this land. We cannot replace this land right now. So even if we didn't have it and we had to find a landfill, we're not going to be able to. So on that note, I cannot support this any longer.
Anybody else have any comment?
I'd just like to say I disagree with the statement that it's unused land. It's a buffer. It's to keep people out of our active landfill. So it is a buffer. It is being used. It's serving its purpose. That's all I have.
I just got one other thing to say. There's nobody in this room that's going to be here in 100 years from now. I don't care how young the youngest one here. More than likely, you're not going to be here in 100 years. The other thing, if we're talking about the people down the road 100 years from now, what about the people here that could enjoy the back trails, enjoy the trails, the walking trails? So how do you deviate one from the other? I mean, I was probably going to vote in favor of this until today. I don't like what's happening here. I feel like this is crammed down my throat. So my vote today will be no.
Larry, I'm glad you brought that up. We did come up with other options, and we have been discussing other options that are extremely feasible, other options that make more sense than using land that is valuable to our citizens. We have over 100,000 citizens that are relying on that, not 10,000, not 20,000. There's a lot of people. And financially, again, you have to make decisions today that affect what happened in 100 years, whether you think anybody here is going to make it or not. Again, my child's 2 years old. His child is 100% going to probably be alive. So I appreciate your judgment on how long we're going to last, but there's chances that some of these kids can make it that long.
Also, I'd like to add the, the safety issue that it presents with Quail Forever if they do remain on that property. And that's been one of my concerns from the very beginning, is that safety issue. And I know that it's been said that we wouldn't be liable, but believe me, we somehow would be liable on that, even if the soil conservation owned the property. Also, the renegotiation of the contract, we don't know what that's going to look like. We could be just shooting ourselves in the foot with that renegotiation. We could lose more than we have right now, and that is a big income revenue for Hardin County at the present time. And I just feel like there are other options that could be looked into. And we're not taking the Springfield Road property off the table at all. That's not included in this resolution. So
one last thing, and I'll be done. But right next to the landfill, there's another 700 acres that's walkable trails. So the quality of life aspect, it's already there. Use it. I'd like to see citizens out there. I'd be careful. I mean, there's a lot of garbage trucks coming in and out of there. It's a safety concern, but it's there.
I'd like to add also, my mother will soon be turning 94. And I've got grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren that haven't been born yet. And I hope they're around in 100 years. I hope my whole family, generational-wise, is around in 100 years.
It is so important that what we do today prepares for the future. And we need to keep that in mind constantly. We dare not be short-sighted.
Absolutely.
Piggybacking on what you just said, E.G., I asked the question, considering the properties that are there now, what is the potential life expectancy of the landfill? 250 years. That's visionary. And that's what I think this court's doing with this action, been visionary about the future.
Call question.
So just a couple more comments. Anything beyond 30 or 40, even 50 years is speculation. I mean, I cannot believe that we're talking about being concerned about what this thing's going to look like. This landfill right now is looking at 100 years of airspace out there, and that's in the permitted area. Okay, what we have permitted right now does not include this area that we're looking at for a park that is primarily for mountain biking. Okay, so this is there's lots of benefits to having this type of a park. We don't have other land that would be equivalent to this. Even the old landfill doesn't have that same amount of vegetation and hilliness and everything that would be provided, or the amount of acreage that would be there for the number of trails. So I think a lot of these things that have been said are grasping at straws, at reasons why we shouldn't do it for whatever reason. I believe it's a very good, and I agree with Larry that while we're concerned and we have these ideas that might be big if statements that are out there, we'd have about 5 generations of people that would be enjoying that park if we would just proceed with this, and we might not have this type of opportunity in the future, is the only reason that I'm trying to kind of press on with it, because I don't know that we'll have another opportunity where an application can be sent to this organization and that we would actually end up with money at the end of the day. That land, I've never seen land like that ever amount to any amount of money. So it's I think it's stretching it to think that that's valuable land out there, and it'd still be a buffer zone. By going through this process, this land would have easements on it from the state that would make it impossible for anything else to happen on there. It would be a park from now on, and so it still functions as a buffer zone. It would just be allowing people to enjoy it while it sits there. So, apparently we're going to have to agree to disagree today, and that this will ultimately stop the process. So that's apparently what you guys want to do, and I guess we'll just deal with that, and the citizens of the county will have to deal with it too.
Judge, many of us have gathered the facts and the information, and based on the facts that are there, we have made a different judgment. And the judgment of each of us needs to be respected. And honestly, in a few years, this court could change. And depending upon the judgment, the foresight or short-sightedness either of the court, this decision could be turned around. But in any case, based on the majority of those who are dealing with the information, we need to make the very best judgment for our county. And it's time to do that and move on.
I got 2 last things. Sorry. One being that I do know of, obviously my career is real estate. I understand real estate. The 100 acres just sold off Ford Highway, way out in the county, roughly about $9,000 an acre. Mm-hmm. The math ain't mathing. So I just don't understand, and it's okay if you want to question it. We can talk about that all day long. I've presented other options on how that land could probably generate income for the county. But even if 10 acres yield 1 more or 2 more years, it's roughly $2 million a year based on the CPI if we make more money with the landfill expansion. I understand you say 100 years. That's fine. But you say we don't know what's happening in 30 years. You're right. But you got to plan for it. That's what we're doing. We're planning for the future. And the last thing I wanted to say, not a single person up here said we don't want a mountain bike trail.
Right.
No one said that.
Yeah.
We just said, we don't want to sell the land. That's, I mean, it's pretty,
I
pretty cut and
want
dry.
the mountain bike trail, but I want it done right and not at the cost of our future and our citizens.
Well, you know, the county is pretty blessed right now. We have 2 bike trails in Radcliffe and West Point. And the city of E-Town is now working on a bike trail, which makes a whole lot of sense, more so than one we were considering. Maybe the money could be transferred to the city of Elizabethtown so they can use it toward that bike trail. It can be used. It's not going to go to waste. There's only $2 million that's allocated for the whole state of Kentucky.
And I'd like to comment, we usually get on, I don't know if it's the judge or whoever submits these last minute resolutions or whatever you want to call it, on our agenda. Kind of what's happened on this thing. Normally we like to see it in the committee or something presented or whatever, so we could at least see it and think about it. That didn't happen on this one. And I know I believe complain to Judge Tall once in a while if something comes in on this consent agenda we haven't seen before, and we don't appreciate it. And I think this has happened to be the same thing that's happened. I don't know about Ray or any of the others, but I wasn't aware of anything like this.
I wasn't either.
And we were still negotiating with a bunch of agencies, and like you're talking about with the public, if they weren't negotiating in good faith, that killed the project. And some of the others, Quail, Unlimited, if we couldn't work out something with them, that would stop the project. Just, I guess I didn't like the way this come up last minute, but I guess we'll vote on it. That's all I got to say.
Is it out of order if make a recommendation to table this to further?
You can make a motion to table it.
Yeah.
Do you make a motion to table
I'll
it?
make a motion that we table this until we get to talk about this a little bit more. I just don't like, I'm like Kenny, I don't like how this came up today, so I would like to table it.
Okay. Is there a second to table it?
I'll second it.
Okay. It's
And that's non-debatable.
not debatable, so we'll go ahead and have a roll call on whether, on the motion to table this resolution.
Squire Clem,
No.
Squire Hicks,
Yes.
Squire Muse,
Yes.
Squire Pennington,
No.
Squire Saltzman,
No.
Squire Thompson,
No.
Squire Whitehead,
No.
Squire Yates,
No.
Judge Tall.
Yes. Would you give me the total?
That's 6 noes and 3 yeses.
Okay. So that motion fails. All right.
I figured it would.
Any other discussion?
I would like to say that out of respect for the court, and I'm talking about the entire fiscal court, in my opinion, this resolution should have been presented earlier than right now, today. I was made aware of it recently, and I mean very recently, but out of respect for all of us working together, trying to reach common ground and working professionally together, I'd like to see something like this presented before we get into this room and get into a position like this. That's all I have to say.
All right. Let's go ahead and have a roll call.
Squire Clem,
Yes.
Squire Hicks,
No.
Squire Muse,
No.
Squire Pennington,
Yes.
Squire Saltzman,
Yes.
Squire Thompson,
Yes.
Squire Whitehead,
Yes.
Squire Yates,
Yes.
Judge Tall.
No.
So 6-3.
Okay, motion passes. All right, let's move on then to the consent agenda. I do want to make one note here about, well, first of all, are there any, I'll review that in just a minute here. Does anyone want to remove any of these consent agenda items If so, just let me know which number. And by the way, I'm going to make a change on Resolution 53 on the date on that one, just in case that's a problem.
That was the only thing I was going to
Okay.
ask you about.
Yeah. Anybody have any? Okay. So let me just review the consent agenda then. We've got the first three items are all the typical finance types of items, including item G, which is Resolution 52, approval of financial transfers. The next three items then are personnel, Resolutions 49, 50, and 51 dealing with EMS personnel, road personnel, and EMS job description. Then we move on to item H, which is Resolution 53. This is the related to the approval of appointment of Lance Turlington to the Hardin County Board of Ethics. We will make the change on the date. I think it had 20 through 2029 on there. We're moving that to December 31st, 2025 is whenever that term will be up. Resolution 54 is approval appointment of Rick Hubry to the Hardin County Tax Board of Appeals. Resolution 55 related to approval of reappointment of Mark Hinton to the Hardin County Planning and Development Commission Board. The next three items are contracts 57, 58, and 59. Just dealing with some different services in the 911 area. And then the next item is Resolution 60. That is the approval of the Household Hazardous Waste Grant application for this coming year. And then finally, the last four items are all the various committee meeting minutes. So with all of that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Second. Go ahead and have a roll call.
Squire Clem?
Yes.
Squire Hicks?
Yes.
Squire Muse?
Yes.
Squire Pennington?
Yes.
Squire Saltzman?
Yes.
Squire Thompson?
Yes.
Squire Whitehead?
Yes.
Squire Yates?
Yes.
Judge Tall?
Yes, motion passes. All right, we'll wrap up today with some comments. County Attorney?
I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay. How about our clerk?
Nothing.
All right, we'll move on then to our magistrates. Magistrate Yates.
I don't have anything good.
Magistrate Saltzman.
No, thank you, sir.
Magistrate Whitehead.
Just want to remind the public about the Resources and Community Support Committee meeting on Monday, April 14th, 3:30 across the hall.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Clem.
Normally, our town hall forum is on a Tuesday. This month, April the 28th, or next month, April the 28th, it will be on a Monday at 5:30. So take note of that change. I'll be here in the courtroom. Also, the next Finance Committee meeting will be April the 15th at 3:30 across the hall. And I'd like to remind folks, please don't drink and drive and don't text and drive.
All right, thank you. Magistrate Pennington.
No, I'd like to see everybody in 100 years.
All right.
I hope I'm around for it.
Good luck. Magistrate Thompson.
I have nothing, thank you.
Magistrate Hicks.
Nothing.
Magistrate Muse.
Remind everyone, the next Public Works Committee meeting will be Wednesday, April the 9th at 3:30.
All right, thank you. My reminders, the next Fiscal Court is Tuesday, April 8th at 3:30. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Second? Any objections? Meeting adjourned.